The battle for second votes in Holyrood's May election is ramping up, as a recent poll suggests Labour will lose all of its 15 constituency seats. It means the party is reliant on the regional list to return members of the Scottish Parliament. Insiders also reveal that the Conservatives will pour resources into a campaign for list seats as the gap between them and Labour closes. Well, yesterday, the candidates for those list seats were announced. What does it tell us? Well, I'm joined now by the former MP and public affairs consultant, Tom Harris. Are you beside yourself with excitement when you look at Labour's list candidates?
Yes, I'm managing to put a calm face on it, but yes, it's hugely exciting.
And do explain to us why.
Well, I mean, the Labour Party, Scottish Labour, is in a very difficult position. Someone, you might have noticed, we're not exactly on the front foot. So the party had a choice at these selections for list candidates of either trying to bring in new talent, and I noticed that Kezia Dugdale has been criticised in some quarters for not doing that. The alternative was trying to secure some of the more experienced, well-known names, and it couldn't really, in practical terms, do both. So it's gone for the latter option. It's gone to secure the well-known people who have been, many of whom have been here for a long time. Now, I understand why the party's done that. I don't think a Scottish Labour Party group of MSPs in Holyrood, without the likes of Joanne Lamont, James Kelly, people like that, I think it's good that they're likely, we don't know yet, but are likely to be back. But it does mean we're in the position where there's just very, very little new talent. The new candidates that have come through are people who lost their seats from Westminster last May.
Yeah, and the problem, I mean, Kezia Dugdale did talk about some idea of having people who perhaps had never been involved in politics could come through very quickly and be candidates and get into Parliament, and this would make the Labour Party look like a completely different organisation. That's not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not. It's a very good aspiration, it's a good ambition to have, but it's incredibly difficult, because if you're going to put the list of candidates, the list of nominees out to a ballot of the members, which is what happened, if you're a Labour Party activist, you're going to recognise the name of someone who's served as an MSP for the last 12 years before you're going to recognise, an academic or someone else, a business person from another part of society. So you're going to put your number one against the people whose names you recognise. And that's why we've got a list of people who have, on the whole, been there for some time. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the next 5 years at Holyrood are going to be really difficult for the Scottish Labour Party. They're going to need people of experience. The problem is, without that new talent coming through, we are more or less in the same position that the SNP were in 1999, like 17 years ago. That's a huge step back for the Labour Party.
Yeah, I mean, well, perhaps the problem was Kezia Dugdale saying this in the first place, because it raised expectations, because the model I think she was using was the victory that the SNP had in the general election. But of course they got so many MPs that they could have an experienced hardcore, if you like, and they could have fresh faces as well. Labour aren't quite in that situation now. The fresh faces, if they had appeared, would have been replacing experience.
See, I think the problem goes back far further than that. It goes back to, well, there's two reasons. First of all, nobody prepared for a succession to Donald Dewar. Donald led us in opposition, he led the convention, he was the prime devolutionist. Nobody prepared for who would take over when Donald, no thought was given to that. But more importantly, the Scottish Labour Party has never had a strategy on the list. The SNP did right from the very beginning, and they worked it very well. Scottish Labour were so arrogant that they thought all they had to do was pay attention to who won the first past the post seats. And that's why we're in the position now where, reconciled to losing possibly all of its first past the post seats, it's concentrating everything on the list. But frankly, it's doing it 15 years too late. That is a strategy that should have been put in position from the very birth of the Scottish Parliament.
We heard the former MP, Thomas Docherty, last week talking about deadwood in Labour. In the balance that you see that they selected, is there going to be a change in that? Will, in your view, Labour in the Scottish Parliament look a bit more dynamic at least? Or is it just the same old, same old?
Actually, I think what you had 5 years ago is because the party paid so little attention to who was getting onto the list, then you had some additional members a very, very mixed bag. You had some brilliant ones like Jenny Mara and Kezia. You had others that, frankly, probably shouldn't have been there, but the party took
You're being very polite.
ball.
What you mean is because they didn't expect to lose so many constituencies
Yes,
in the last
absolutely
election.
right. Absolutely
a bunch
right.
of people that no one thought would get elected got elected.
Your words, not mine, Gordon. But what we've got now is, I think the party has concentrated on getting actually the best people at the top of the list. On the whole, that's what we now have. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have fewer MSPs after me than we have at the moment, but I think the standard is going to be significantly higher, and it has to be because there's going to be fewer of them.
All right, Luke, we'll have to leave it there. Tom Harris, thanks very much indeed.